You won't believe what happened when my HOA tried to fine me for having a white picket fence. Instead of giving in, I gave them something they'd never forget: a full-size wall made entirely of Lego bricks. And the best part? It was completely legal. Before we get started, tell me which country you're watching this video from in the comments. I love seeing how far these HOA stories travel. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell for more wild homeowner revenge stories like this one. It started on a quiet suburban morning and a neighborhood that looked perfect on the surface: manicured lawns, identical mailboxes, and the usual HOA rulebook thick enough to rival a novel. The kind of place where conformity was currency, and any hint of individuality drew instant attention. The homeowner at the center of this story, Mark, was a laid-back family man who took pride in keeping his small property neat but personal. His kids had grown up watching him paint birdhouses and plant flowers around the old wooden picket fence that surrounded their yard. That fence had been there since the house was built decades ago. It wasn't flashy or broken, just a charming, simple fence that added character to his home. But one afternoon, a letter arrived from the HOA. It was stamped "Notice of Violation" in bold red ink. According to them, Mark's fence didn't comply with the updated visual harmony guidelines. Apparently, the new rules only allowed fences made of specific materials, all matching a neutral aesthetic. In other words, every fence in the neighborhood was supposed to look exactly the same. Mark couldn't believe it. He had lived there longer than most of the board members and had always paid his dues on time. But the HOA claimed that if he didn't remove his non-compliant fence within 30 days, they'd start issuing daily fines. They even included a list of approved contractors, companies suspiciously connected to one of the board members' relatives. At first, Mark thought about fighting it in a meeting, but when he showed up, the board was dismissive. They smirked when he explained that his fence had been there long before the new rulebook was printed. One even told him, half-jokingly, that rules are rules, even for sentimental fences. That's when something in Mark shifted. If they wanted to play games, he'd give them something to talk about. Over the next week, he brainstormed ideas late into the night. He wanted a solution that was both hilarious and airtight from a legal standpoint. Then, while cleaning out his garage, he noticed a box filled with his kids' old Lego bricks. The idea hit him like a bolt of lightning. A wall made entirely of interlocking Lego bricks. It would be colorful, absurd, and most importantly, not covered under any HOA material restriction. The rulebook specified wood, vinyl, composite, or metal, nothing about plastic toy bricks. So Mark got to work. He started buying up bulk Lego-style bricks online, stacking them into a massive, sturdy wall along the perimeter of his property. Neighbors came by to watch, some laughing, others recording on their phones. Kids from down the street were fascinated. Every day, the bright wall grew taller, brick by brick, transforming his yard into something straight out of a fantasy movie. When it was done, the result was stunning. The wall wasn't just a playful statement, it was a work of art. Each section had patterns, color gradients, even tiny flags his kids had helped design. It was secure, stable, and undeniably cheerful in a neighborhood otherwise painted in beige and gray. But the HOA didn't find it funny. Within 48 hours, another violation letter appeared. This time, it accused Mark of constructing an unsanctioned barrier. But when he checked the fine print of the bylaws, the HOA had no grounds to act. Lego bricks were not listed under any prohibited materials. The board scrambled to call an emergency meeting, hoping to amend the rules, but legal changes like that couldn't be applied retroactively. So technically, Mark's Lego wall was 100% allowed. The story exploded across the community. People drove by just to see the Lego fence guy. Local reporters even showed up to interview him about his creative protest. The HOA board tried to ignore the attention, but they couldn't escape it. The public loved it. Then came the breaking point. During a scheduled inspection, the HOA president brought along a so-called compliance officer to document the wall. But when they arrived, a group of neighborhood kids was playing near the wall, building small Lego gardens along its base. Parents were laughing, taking pictures, and even thanking Mark for bringing some joy into a community that had become tense and overly controlled. The president, red-faced and fuming, realized she couldn't find him without looking ridiculous. The HOA board soon started receiving emails from residents demanding fewer restrictions and more flexibility. The story had become a symbol of standing up against pointless authority. Months passed, and the Lego wall stood proudly, unchallenged. The HOA quietly rewrote some of their rules, but Mark had already made his point. His small act of rebellion had sparked a conversation about individuality, creativity, and the absurdity of micromanagement. In a poetic twist, the same HOA that once tried to fine him for non-compliance ended up using a photo of his property in their community newsletter. They called it a fun example of homeowner creativity. It was their way of saving face, pretending they had supported it all along. Mark didn't mind. His kids loved the attention, his neighbors respected him, and his home became a landmark of harmless defiance. Every time he looked at that wall, he smiled, knowing that it wasn't just made of plastic bricks, it was built from persistence, cleverness, and a quiet refusal to bow to petty authority. By the end of the year, the HOA had changed leadership. The new president was more lenient, open to individuality, and often joked about how a few Lego bricks fix the whole community. Mark's Lego wall still stands today, a bright, colorful monument to what happens when ordinary homeowners refuse to be bullied by rule-obsessed boards. So next time your HOA tries to box you in, remember this story, because sometimes the best revenge isn't anger. It's creativity that leaves everyone else speechless.